Welcome back to another episode of Goalies Are ... I'm here with Colten Ellis with the Springfield Thunderbirds, and Colten, I have to ask you to finish the sentence. Goalies are?
Unique.
What's so unique about goalies?
I think a lot of us get a bad rap, but I think definitely some not weird goalies around. I like to consider myself one on more of a normal, I guess, maybe. I don't know if anybody else would say the same, but yeah, I think there's a lot of stigma around goalies being weird.
Have you seen some of the guys, though, that you're like, you're a little
for
funky?
Sure.
Yeah?
For sure.
Maybe without naming any names, what's maybe the weirdest thing that you've seen from a guy?
A goalie?
Yeah.
I don't know. Each one's kind of their own person and unique in their own way, but I think a lot of it has to do with superstitions, and myself, I'm pretty superstitious too, so I think that kind of gets where everything comes from with goalies being weird, just trying to stick to your superstitions.
Okay, you go from I'm not too weird to I have a lot of superstitions.
Yeah.
What are your superstitions, if you can say?
I think just warm-up routine, like everything's pretty well the same every single game, but kind of learn to adapt and be able to just kind of roll with it if it's not something I can control or whatever. Like if I can't do a certain part of my warm-up or the way I come into the rink, something like that, just being able to roll with it. And it's more of a routine now, I guess, than superstition. Like I'm pretty keen on my routines, I guess, but just kind of learned to deal with that a little better throughout the years.
Going back to just a little bit, you asked if I meant goalies. Have you seen any skaters that are like maybe up there on the scale where you're like, maybe you're the ones that are weird?
For sure. But I think there's only 2 goalies on a team, right? So, and there's a bunch of players. So if there's a few players, they don't really get the rap for being weird with superstitions.
I feel like maybe that's more though, because they stand out a little bit, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's like
totally.
You've got a little more of a reason for everyone to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point too.
I will say I've talked to a few guys, and like most goalies are like, yeah, we are, we sit in the net, we get pucks thrown at us all day, like every day for years.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be a little bit something where you're just like, yeah, I think I just enjoy the torture.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way. I think I started playing goalie full time when I was 11, so I had quite a few years playing player, so I think maybe that's why I got a little bit of the normalcy from.
What made you want to switch then?
I just kind of liked being in the net, and I think having that much influence over a game was something that I really liked from a young age, like being able to bail your team out when they need it and make a big save, and you hear from the crowd, and you kind of get that excitement and energy out of everybody. So that's something I just really like from a young age, and still really enjoy.
So as a skater, how were you kind of on your own? Like if you had to go back now and do it, do you think that you could be like, yeah, I could keep up?
I mean, I'd like to think so, but I don't know. I don't know, hard to say. I think that eventually I'd figure it out, maybe be in the same spot I am as a player.
Have you tried it at all since you switched over?
Yeah, definitely. I played quite a bit of player, and just around the rink, like just passing with guys and going out on the ice, and not in full player gear, but over the years definitely had my fair share of playing player.
Yeah, I always want to ask too. Do you ever sit there and be like, I can do what you do, but I don't think you could do what I do?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys like to think when they're like, oh, yeah, I could play goalie, it's no problem, and then they'll get in the net and they'll be like, oh my God. So I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call every time a player kind of goes in the net. But obviously for me to say I could do what the players here could do, they're a long way. I'm a long way from that.
I don't know. Maybe one of these days we'll have to just see all the goalies come out and just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, we'll switch it up maybe for sure.
Or I don't know. We like all goal games. I think those are growing in popularity. So
Totally.
Just maybe a little bit of goalie 3-on-3.
Yeah, we could do something like that for sure. I'd be interested.
You bring them to an all-star game and just get goalie 3-on-3.
Yeah, that'd be a good concept for sure.
It's my favorite type of thing. Okay, just going through this year, you were just named recently the AHL Player of the Week. Not just, Goalie of the Week, Goalie of the Month. You're the Player of the Week. What does that kind of mean for you as you're going through a season like this?
I mean, yeah, you can look at it positively, which of course I did, but At the same time, like, it's just a small sample size, like 1 week out of the whole season, but it's kind of what I would strive to get every week. Like, you want to just kind of keep building towards perfecting or not perfecting, but just getting better in every day. And, you know, it's nice to get that recognition and, you know, just kind of build off that. And I think we only have 12 games left now, so just kind of finish the year, regular season off strong and keep it going into playoffs.
Going off of things like that, do you like to like kind of ride the highs a little bit when you have a good game or a good week or good month, or is it just kind of just stay even the whole time? Because I feel like that's a pretty normal thing to.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely got to stay even keel, and I think like it's important. There's so many games we play, like playing 72 games. Like it's important not to get too high or too low, and you know, you don't want to ride the waves because, like I said, there's so many games. So you just gotta kind of approach each game the same and do all the things you need to prepare, and that's gonna give yourself the best chance at success.
Okay, the thing I think a lot of people don't know is a lot of goalies are really good skaters, and it's kind of a common thing where when you talk to goalies, they're like, "You have to be a great skater to be a goalie." What do you think is the most underrated skill a goalie has?
I would say playing the puck and being able to help your team break out. It's something that I kind of, you know, grew up trying to focus on, and just another tool in the toolbox to help our team break out and be more efficient in that part of the game.
You say help a team break out. If someone's never watched a game of hockey and they're just kind of listening to this for the first time, what does that mean from your perspective?
Just in the league, in hockey anyway, there's a lot of, you know, the other team will just get the red line and dump it in and try and go at our D and forecheck. So just kind of stopping that rim and like not letting the other team get it on the forecheck or run our D and just get it back into our possession.
Talk to a couple guys now about how practices aren't really designed for goalies.
Yeah.
It's kind of all against the goalie. You just kind of nail you guys every day at practice.
For sure.
How do you kind of go through that throughout a year where you're just like, we going in every day and everything is designed to just bully me?
Yeah. Well, I think like our staff here, and Stu especially, does a good job of, we do goalie ice before practice pretty well 99% of the day. So kind of gets us warm and ready to do those 2-on-0s or 3-on-0s, whatever it may be. So just kind of getting our work in before practice, and then, you know, we have certain principles that we're going to work on, whether it's a drill where, you know, it's not putting us in the easiest position, but there's things we can kind of work on ourselves and just battle and compete and grind it out.
How does that translate into a game?
I think it's good, like, especially when we have those drills that maybe aren't as easy on the goalies, because you just kind of get to battle, and, you know, there's no predictability in the game, so it kind of keeps you on your toes for that.
You ever out there kind of chirping the guys where you're just like, oh man, you got it? Because I have talked to a couple guys where they said, you know, I'll turn it back around on them and be like, congrats, you got a goal.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of tried that a little bit, and it wasn't really who I am, so I kind of stayed away from it and just stayed to myself and not get caught up in trying to chirp guys, and, you know, because then if they end up scoring or something, then I'll be hearing all about it. So I try to just kind of stay to myself.
Do you kind of see it if they score on another goalie and you're just kind of like, yep, seen that?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you got to have some good karma out there.
Does it kind of work that way, though, where you're seeing them and if they're scoring at the other end, you're just like, thank God?
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. I mean, some guys will get pretty fired up and involved, but I like to kind of stick to my game and stay to myself.
How do you watch everything on the ice? Like, is that a skill that you've trained, or is that just something that you're like, you just have to be able to do it?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think I kind of put a lot of work into always kind of scanning the ice, and I think a lot of it goes into the preparation leading to games, where you know who you're playing against and know your opponents and their strengths, and even which way they shoot. And if you got kind of 3 righties coming down against you, you kind of know where the puck's going to go, and kind of anticipate things like that. So that's kind of been a skill that I've learned to develop throughout the years.
So that kind of something that you know for all the guys in the league is like how they shoot, and you're just kind of like, yep, I know who's coming at me, or is it just guys that you've seen enough?
A little bit of both. I think like at this level, like guys are so good, they're not going to be, shooting in one spot at the same time. So it's more like reading which way they're shooting, if they're righty or lefty, and because the angles are going to be a little different when they're coming down. But for the most part, especially when you're playing teams that you don't play a lot, like it's kind of hard to know their tendencies. But when we're playing teams like 8-10 times a year, like it's maybe a little predictable where you kind of know their tendencies a little more.
Okay, on that note, do you kind of study if they're righty or lefty, and you kind of just like know the roster and you're like,
yeah,
all these
for
guys?
Sure. Before like we get, especially teams we play a lot, like you kind of know what their lineup entails and who their big shooters are, and you learn like whether they're righty or lefty. And I think that's kind of something that I've implemented in my game in the last probably year, 2 years that I think has definitely helped.
So we're not going to do it right now, but if we were just to come at you with like a list of guys, and could you tell us like?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think for the majority, I would like to think anyway.
Might be a fun thing to do in the future.
Yeah, we can do that.
Going through a game day, what's your routine like? Just kind of as much detail as you want to or you can from like morning to game time.
Yeah, I get to the rink pretty early. Usually up at like 6:30, 6:45, and grab a coffee into the rink, and then a couple tubs, hot tub, cold tub, kind of back and forth, and a little bit of warm up, get on the ice, like to get on early and get a little warmed up, feel the puck pretty good, and then, quick skate and we're back. Quick bite to eat, usually take a nap, read a little bit of a book, whichever book I'm reading at the time, and grab another coffee and head to the game.
You a big reader?
Yeah, I think reading is something that I kind of put more emphasis on in the last probably year and a half, maybe a year. And just think I've been wheeling through books like pretty crazy the last little bit. So it's nice. It's a little bit of break from the screen time too, and it's a nice peace of mind.
What kind of books are you reading?
A lot of like The Inner Game of Tennis.
Okay.
It's a book I just kind of finished too. Inner Excellence, like kind of books like that where they're a little bit kind of controlling your mindset and being present, and kind of the tools that successful people have really hammered into their own routines and their ways of life, I guess.
Going through that, when you get here for a game, that routine, how structured, because you said you have that that routine, but like how structured are you with it? Like, is it something that you've had to develop since being here, or is it just something that you've always brought with you?
I've always had kind of a set routine that I've followed, not down to the minute, but obviously there's times where I'm just kind of floating around and, kind of just chatting or doing whatever. But for the most part, like every day, whether it's like I'll get to the rink, I'll take my stick and then I'll warm up for a bit and, listen to some music, work on some hand-eye, and then play some soccer with the guys, stuff like that. But I think like over the years, I've kind of learned to dial it back on how serious and strict I am on it. Whether, like, I remember like a few years ago or maybe 5 years ago, I'd be minute by minute, like everything has to be done. So learned to kind of, take a step back in that sense a little bit, and I think it's helped quite a bit.
When you guys are going out onto the ice, like, before the game, before warm-ups, everyone's kind of getting fired up, and goaltenders tend to be the more, I'm staying in the zone, don't bother me too much. How do you keep kind of that mindset of, all right, just got to do my own thing when everyone's going kind of nuts around you?
Yeah, I personally like it. I think like when there's a lot of energy going throughout the team, it's a good thing for sure. And you see how excited guys are to play, and that kind of feeds into my game too. Like it's a little extra motivation. Like, the guys are fired up, and for me, I wouldn't say I'm the most like vocal guy before games or anything. I'm kind of in my zone and try to focus on myself, but at the same time, like I like hearing that and everybody's excited, and I think I try to stay even keel for the most part.
What's your favorite thing about being a goalie?
I think just what I kind of said before is having influence on a game and being able to kind of make a big save when your team needs it, or bail them out when they need it, or just kind of having, like, all goalies are kind of under a spotlight for every game, and I really try to embrace that, and I think it's pretty cool to to go out there and you get to battle and just kind of help your team out and find any way to win.
How do you keep that mindset, though, when you guys are going through a game and it's just like there's so much going on, whether it's a good game or a bad game, like no matter what, how do you kind of keep in that even mindset?
I think it's a skill that has to be learned for sure. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself and kind of predicting the outcome of the game, and just kind of stay present and, control what you can control, stick to your process, like things like that are just going to give you the best chance to stop the next puck. And at the end of the day, my goals and job is just stop as many pucks as I can. So having that process implemented is something that's going to give me the best chance of doing it.
On weeks like this, when you have three games in 4 days, how do you kind of do that reset? Because that's a quick turnaround, especially with travel.
Yeah, we're pretty used to it now. I think like we've already played 60 games, I think. So it was an adjustment coming into pro, I think, but now you learn to kind of analyze the game, take what's good, take what's bad, and work on what's bad, obviously, and keep building and doing anything you can to kind of learn and grow and keep getting better. And then once you have that kind of process where you're analyzing everything, just kind of throw it out the window and get ready to go again.
How do you just have fun with the game still when you go through it? I feel like as people get higher in levels of really any sport, it gets more of like this is my job. Mm-hmm. But how do you kind of return to, it's still fun, I like this? For
sure. That's something I kind of struggle with, I think, my first couple of years pro, where it was more of it's a job now, and I think I took it a little too serious to a certain extent, where I'm getting too upset and kind of riding the highs and lows a little too much. But I think in the last maybe 2 years, year and a half, I've kind of just realized that passion I had for playing hockey and how much I really enjoy competing and playing goalie. So that's something that's kind of helped me just have fun with it, and realize at the end of the day you're still playing a game, and just go out and kind of battle and give it the best you can and enjoy it.
All right, now I've got to ask a little bit of fun stuff, not so hockey related. Your playlist, top 3 artists or top 3 songs, whichever one you want to share.
Top 3 artists. I like Noah Kahn. Kind of drawing a blank here.
Do I ever listen to music?
Yeah. I listen to quite a bit of music too. I like Zach Bryan. He's I wouldn't say I'm a crazy fan, but I definitely enjoy his music. Great artist, so I like throwing that on. Who else? I like Kygo a lot, older Kygo music. It's been pretty good, but kind of more into the, I guess, indie pop a little bit, or whatever, alternative, whatever Noah Kahn is. Listen to a lot of that lately.
All right, if guys are playing music in the room, who's got the best playlist and who's got the worst?
DJ Cal is he runs the aux for the music, so he does a really good job. But for worst, so he's got to be best. But for worst, I don't know who has the worst. If I had to pick a guy, though, it might be Dalibor Dvorsky, maybe. I can't imagine he's got too much variety. Maybe some Slovakian music too. So I never heard it, but if I had to guess, maybe him.
Might have gotten some song recs from him.
Oh, yeah?
So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
We'll
Haven't listened yet, but
yeah, we'll check it out then.
Yeah, we'll find out for sure. Okay, and then the big question that I ask every guy: if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why?
My favorite fruit is probably blueberries or banana. Make a lot of good smoothies with them, and pretty versatile. Like he said, you can make banana bread. Big banana bread fan, so maybe I'll go with banana.
Okay, all right. So this is a side thing, but have you ever seen that video of the guy talking about banana bread at work?
No, I haven't.
We're gonna have to show you that.
Yeah?
It's the best video ever.
I haven't seen it.
If we were going through a zombie apocalypse and you had to choose 3 guys on the team to be your zombie apocalypse squad,
okay,
who would they be? And then what would kind of everyone's role be? Why would they be part of that group?
Bits, for sure. I think I'm living a lot longer with Bits by my side. Sam Bitten. I think Corey Schooneman would be pretty good too. Yeah. And around the room here. Like, we're trying to survive?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, unless you just don't want to. And
You
you're like,
know,
this
for
is
sure.
the
I
greatest,
would rather,
like, 20 hours.
Yeah. Trying to go around the room. What do we got here? Maybe Pex. Pex would probably have a couple strategic plans to get out of it, or yeah, I think with that squad would be pretty good.
Would it just be like, oh, we're taking down the zombies, like it doesn't matter?
I don't know. We'll see what he would cook up. Maybe I'll ask him, and I'm sure he'd probably have a plan for something.
He's already got the contingency. He's
Yeah,
like, I've
exactly.
got this. Like, here, I'm going to
Yeah.
show you the entire plan.
Exactly.
right
I'll
now.
ask him, be like, yeah, so I've been thinking. He'll already have it mapped out.